All right, let's get right into it. Today we are talking about some seriously outdated ideas about ERP systems, enterprise resource planning, that are really holding back Sri Lankan businesses. Think of an ERP as just one central place to manage all the important stuff in your business. The myths around them, well, they could be costing you a whole lot more than you think. Let's dive in.
Does that sound familiar? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard this one before. Maybe you've even said it yourself. It's this classic idea that these powerful tools are only for the giants, the big-name corporations. But, that's not the whole story anymore. Not even close.
And then, of course, there's the big one, the money. The second you hear ERP, you're probably picturing a bill with way too many zeros, something that feels completely out of reach for a business that's still growing. For most people, that's where the conversation just stops.
And finally, there's the fear about your people. You start thinking about the training, the complexity, the headaches. You're thinking, my guys can barely handle Excel. How on earth are they going to learn some complicated new system? These three things, they're the major roadblocks we hear about all the time.
But here's the crucial point. All of those excuses, they were totally valid about 20 years ago. The entire game has changed, but our thinking hasn't caught up. So, what's so different now?
So, let's do this. We're going to take 7 of these old myths and just bust them, one by one, using today's facts, real numbers, and some actual Sri Lankan examples.
First off, the idea that ERP is just for the huge companies. The reality today? It's completely flipped. Modern cloud-based ERPs are actually built specifically for small and medium-sized businesses. In fact, the sweet spot, where you see the biggest return, is often for companies with just 10 to 50 employees.
And look, don't just take my word for it. Here's a real case study from a small 12-person agency right in Colombo. After they brought in a modern ERP, their revenue went up 18%. They made their money back in just 9 months. And the owner's biggest insight? He realized that as a small business, they have way less room for error, which makes a system like this even more critical.
Okay, let's tackle myth number 2 again, the cost. It's just too expensive. Well, here's the uncomfortable truth. That free spreadsheet system you're probably using right now, it's likely costing you an absolute fortune in ways you don't even see. Next, let's talk about the timeline. The old myth was this nightmare scenario, right? Years of chaos and disruption. The reality for a modern cloud ERP? You're looking at a focused project that takes just 8 to 12 weeks. We're talking about a couple of months, not a couple of years.
And you just got to listen to this quote from an owner of a manufacturing business in Katunayake. After a smooth 12-week setup, his biggest regret was that he wasted 2 whole years frozen by that old myth. That really shows you the high cost of just waiting around.
And what about your team? The myth is that you need a whole IT department and weeks of intense training. The reality is that modern systems are designed to be intuitive, kind of like the apps you use on your phone every day. You're talking about just a few hours of training to get someone up and running.
I mean, this quote from a 58-year-old warehouse worker just says it all. He said, "This is easier than paper. I scan a barcode, the system tells me where to put the item." It doesn't get much simpler than that. Okay, a big fear for a lot of people is losing control of your data once it's in the cloud. But let's be really clear here. You own your data, legally. You can export it whenever you want, and honestly, it's way safer on a secure platform with constant backups than it is on a single computer in your office.
The "our business is special" argument. We hear this one all the time. And you know what? It's true. But the thing is, most businesses are about 80% the same. Modern ERPs handle that 80% right out of the box, and they let you configure the other 20%, your secret sauce, to fit your exact needs, without expensive custom programming. It's flexible, without the crazy cost.
All right, now we get to what I think is the most critical part of this whole conversation. Let's look at the real hard numbers behind the cost of doing nothing. And I want you to seriously ask yourself this question. What's really costing your business more money every year? Is it a predictable monthly fee for a new system? Or is it something hidden in plain sight?
Just look at these numbers for a typical 35-employee business. A cloud ERP might cost about 2.4 million rupees a year. Seems like a lot, right? But the hidden cost of staying on spreadsheets? It's double, almost 4.8 million. So where is all that money going?
Well, for starters, about 1.6 million rupees a year is just gone, vanished into wasted time. That's your team, spending hours and hours manually keying in data, copying and pasting, and trying to patch together reports that should be instant.
But here's the real killer. Another 3.2 million rupees a year lost to simple human error. Paying the wrong bill, forgetting to chase an invoice, these little mistakes add up, and they quietly bleed a business dry. So, look, if the technology is ready, it's affordable, and it's easy to use, what's the real roadblock? It's not the software anymore. It's us. It's about people.
You see, the number one hurdle is almost always resistance to change. But there's a proven playbook to get past it. You involve your team from the very beginning. You clearly explain why this change is happening. You give them good training and support, and most importantly, you're patient. You know it takes a few months for new habits to really stick.
So let's just reframe this whole thing for a second. This isn't really a technology decision. At its core, it's a decision about managing risk.
For years, we've all been asking the wrong question. It's not, can you afford to invest in a modern system? The real question is, can you afford to wait? Can you really afford to keep losing millions every year to the old way of doing things? Can you afford to watch your competition get smarter and faster while you're stuck?
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. I mean, really think about it. Take an honest look at your business. What's actually holding you back? Is it a genuine, real constraint? Or is it just one of these old, comfortable myths that are actually costing you a fortune? The choice is yours. Thanks for tuning in.